Welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Louallen.
I'm Eddie Williams.
And here we are now talking about the newest X-Men film, Logan, which stars Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, and is the third film in the solo Wolverine movies that began with Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, and now Logan. Now, a little backstory. I've come to really enjoy a lot of the X-Men films, especially from the first two movies that came back in the early 2000s. And I've always been, I actually was a fan of the cartoon growing up, but not the, I mean, I didn't grow up with like the original cartoon, but I watched one called X-Men Evolution, and it really got me into the characters, and I really enjoyed the character Wolverine. And I always felt like he was one of those kind of like tough guys in comic books that just, he was just so like charismatic as hell. He's very laid back, or he's very strong and gruff. And, ever since I've seen Hugh Jackman play in these movies, it's just always shown that he puts a lot of compassion into the role.
Yeah. Me, personally, growing up, I wasn't really a big X-Men fan. I actually inherited, here I'll tell you when I inherited. But growing up, my friend was a big comic book fan. He used to do, being a big X-Men and all that stuff. And I didn't really care for them. I didn't know much about their cartoon either. I remember seeing it on TV, kind of really just passed by. It didn't come to affect on me until I watched Days of Future Past, and that's when I really went back to history and started watching them all and catching up on them. So I was able to watch, catch up on them, and then I seen Days of Future Past, and I seen Apocalypse in theaters, and I was able to see the Wolverine Origins in theaters, but the Wolverine I waited on video, I believe. So it took a while to grow on.
Yeah, there's been a lot of overall the X-Men films that I've watched that I've come to enjoy. X-Men 2, Days of Future Past, and all them. There's never really been, I think, a bad X-Men movie. I think the only ones I really didn't like was X-Men 3: Last Stand and Origins Wolverine. But It just seems to me like with the Wolverine solo films that as the movies went along, at least after Origins, they started to get better because they were fixing the mistakes that Origins started with.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Wolverine trilogy that they got going on now, which Logan is the third one. The first Origins, when I first saw that, and I went to six-side theaters, I walked out really disappointed. I thought they kind of did what Green Lantern did, where it was, the Green Lantern was so fucking basic. It's just standard. It's like nothing was like, there was nothing surprising about it.
Yeah, and
so plain.
Yeah, and then with The Wolverine, that's when it showed that they actually took a risk by showing more vulnerability with the character, by actually making him lose pretty much his healing abilities. And with this one, now Logan, this one really got me curious because not only based on the trailers alone, this one shows that they're pretty much taking more of like a very different feel of the X-Men movies, because this time it's in like a desert setting where you pretty much have the story involving where it's in like the far future, where you have Wolverine who is now who's pretty much losing his powers, and he's grown older now. He's able to age. He's pretty much taken the job as a chauffeur to basically not trying. Keep in mind this will be a very non-spoiler free. We'll have a separate video that will have the spoilers, but basically to sum it up, he and Professor Xavier, who is suffering from Alzheimer's. They meet this little girl who is who's basically a clone of Wolverine, and they have to go on the run to protect her from these guys that work for this thing called Transigen or whatever it's called that are after her.
There's some kind of big old genetics. Your genetic like lab / militarized ran thing, but they're after the girl, and basically Wolverine and Xavier are trying to get her to what is they call the Eden, which is kind of a safe haven for her.
Yeah, and as the movie goes along, you start to see a lot of the very human qualities of Wolverine that we haven't really seen before. Because this one,
I will say, the quality of this what made me really love the film. For one, you got to praise that they did something totally different. This isn't a standard fucking superhero film. This is like taking the qualities of the characters from X-Men or superhero films and put them into a Mad Max setting.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it feels very grounded. This film, I got to tell you right now,
it's gritty.
Yes, it's gritty, and I got to tell you right now, out of all the X-Men films, I think this is probably my favorite one out of all of them. To me, this is everything that I've wanted to see from the Wolverine done right, and basically, to get my pros out of the way, because I'm not going to spend too much time on it, we'll have a separate review. I loved Hugh Jackman in this film. I think this is his most defining moment as Wolverine. And every scene when he's, when he's interacting with Xavier and interacting with the girl, you really get a lot of the human qualities to him this time that we haven't really seen before in the previous movies. And you also get to see a lot more of the vulnerability side to himself.
Yeah, Xavier and Wolverine, they always have had great chemistry. But I think this is probably one of the most defining chemistry to date, ever, in any film they've been together with. Because, I'll look at it now, because they're playing vulnerable guys who are pretty much grown old, and showing so much vulnerability and showing that they are approaching death, it's like they're taking more of a really dramatic role with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their chemistry together. And I freaking enjoyed the shit out of that. And it's a very emotional film.
Yeah, it is. It's very emotional, especially, I really love the dynamic between him and Laura, the clone, the girl that they're with, because, her qualities, she pretty much has the same kind of powers that Logan has throughout the film, but you get to know more about her history throughout it that we later grow and see, but we'll try to, and when you learn more about her, you really get, it really gets you very invested with what's happening with her and Logan, and also not just that, but I mean, I love every single parts of this movie that shows some of the quieter scenes where you have him and her going on the road, and him and Xavier where he's trying to help Xavier to avoid having seizures and stuff. It feels so grounded to the point where if this was taken realistically, I could really buy that.
Man, to be honest with you, I think one of the most thing I loved about this film was the part where he does meet this black family throughout. We'll go into more detail in our spoiler review on the family, but there's a part where him and Xavier really, Xavier's really breaking down to him and saying, because he sees how this family, the husband, wife, daughter, son living together. And it's something, and Xavier feels like he's missed out on that. And he goes, don't it feel good to know, what it's like to live an ordinary family life?
Yeah, exactly. And that right there is one of the best defining moments with Xavier, too, because, he realizes that Logan's never really had a true family, and he's basically treated Logan like it's his own son. And him, having this conversation with this other family, it shows that Logan deserves, a place to feel right at home. And
we'll talk about more on this in the spoilers.
But to get pretty much to the action scenes, man, this to me is how you do a Wolverine movie right. Every scene when you see the brutality, it really pushes a lot of the limits with the R rating. And man, every scene when you see Wolverine chopping dudes left and right, and when you see Laura chopping dudes left and right, man, they go into detail with that shit.
I know, they did so much freaking detail, dude. And I want to tell you right now, this movie is beyond brutal. I expected it to be brutal because we found out we were going to get an R-rating Wolverine film, but I didn't expect to get this goddamn brutal. And you know what? I loved it.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and I didn't think, even though some of it is CGI blood, I didn't think the actual CGI blood was too bad, because, it really shows a lot of the grittiness that the tone of the film is going for, and I really enjoyed a lot of the parts where you actually showcase what Wolverine can do with these guys. And
alright, now get down to the bottom girl, because we're going to go into more detail in our review. Just make it, I want to say that from to the beginning to the very end, I absolutely loved. This movie is completely, in my opinion, is completely flawless. I have not ever done this in quite a long time, and this is, you gotta earn, there's a lot you gotta do to earn this. I'm gonna give Logan, like I did last time I did this was with the Revenant, I'm gonna give Logan 10 out of 10.
Oh, absolutely. The pacing of this film never bothered me once, and I actually.
The best superhero film since Dark Knight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely one of the best superhero. This is probably my the best superhero movie that I've seen that touches me on such an emotional level since, well, in my opinion, The Dark Knight Rises. From A to B, there's never a dull moment in this film. The pacing is definitely perfectly fine. There's little to no flaws, and with this being the final movie with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, this movie to me deserves this is now my official favorite X-Men film. And with that, I'm going to give the movie a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this was that perfect #1 film. I truly believe it. You know, we don't know how this year turns out. This could be potentially my best film of this year. We don't know yet. But, man, Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, gotta say thank you for all you guys done all of the years, and it came to an end.
Absolutely, and I'm really, I'm really glad that this film really exceeded all of my expectations. So. Yep. What did you guys think of Logan? Comment below, and if you guys like what you see here, you can check out more of our reviews, and we'll be having our spoiler review coming up with Logan here soon. We'll see you guys later.